Before the world wakes, before the rush begins, before the headlines scream or the children cry, there is a silence, a sacred hush that hovers over the earth, like a mother's breath over her sleeping child. It does not demand, it does not rush, it waits holy and patient, for you. This silence is not empty, it is full of presence. It is God's first gift to your soul, each day, the morning. Mornings are not just time markers, they are sacred spaces. They hold a divine invitation, an opening into a deeper rhythm, a quieter wisdom, a fresh beginning untouched by yesterday's weight. When we meet the morning with reverence, when we honor the stillness before the noise, something shifts not just in our schedule, but in our spirit. This is not a call to productivity, it is a call to presence, to slow down, to breathe in light, to remember who you are before the world tries to tell you who to be. In this first part of our journey, we return to the threshold of the day, the sacred whisper before the dawn, to rediscover the power and holiness of beginning again. Let this be your invitation to rise with intention, to speak with faith, and to make your morning not just a moment, but a meeting place with the divine. The sacred whisper before the dawn, asterisk, there is a whisper, quiet and ancient, that visits just before the morning breaks. Not loud enough to startle, not bright enough to blind, but soft, holy like breath resting upon the chest of God. It comes in that sliver of time before your alarm intrudes, before the weight of yesterday rises up to meet you, before the sun climbs its throne in the sky. It comes to those willing to be still. This whisper is sacred. It does not speak in many words. It only says this: today, something beautiful is coming, and that alone is enough. You see, morning is not just the start of another routine. It is the brushstroke of God on the blank canvas of time. It is heaven's sigh over the soul still wrapped in sleep. It is the hush between what has been and what will be. It is the divine intersection between rest and rising, between yesterday's grief and today's grace. There is a sacredness to the morning that the world has forgotten. Because the world, my dear, is in a hurry. We wake up and run. We reach for our phones before we reach for our breath. We scroll through headlines before we scan our hearts. We stumble into obligations before we still ourselves before God. And in our rush, we miss the miracle. The miracle is not in what the day brings. It is in the quiet gift of the day itself. Mornings are mercy wrapped in light. They are forgiveness wrapped in breath. They are second chances cloaked in sunrise. The morning is God's way of saying, I'm not finished with you yet. Let me tell you why that matters. Because there are days when your body wakes up, but your spirit does not. There are days when the alarm rings, but hope does not rise with it. There are mornings when the heaviness of yesterday pulls at your limbs, like chains, when memory tastes bitter before coffee touches your lips, when grief lingers longer than it should, when fear crawls into the bed with you and doubt sits at the foot of it, and yet still, the morning comes. Still, the light returns. Still, your breath finds rhythm. Still, God whispers again. You see, there is something ancient in the morning, something that remembers Eden, something that echoes the first words ever spoken. Let there be light. Mornings remember beginnings. They carry the residue of creation. That's why your soul feels more tender when the sky is still soft with dawn. That's why your heart feels more open before the noise of the world begins. In the morning, heaven is closer. The veil is thinner. The air is gentle. The silence is not empty. It's sacred. And in that silence, God speaks not always with thunder, but with whispers that heal, not always with fire, but with warmth that settles your bones. But here's the truth. You must choose to hear it. Because silence alone does not shape you. Sacred silence does. Stillness with God, intention with your breath, a moment when your soul leans toward the light and says, I am here. Shape me again. You do not need incense or stained glass to make this holy. You do not need a temple made by hands. The morning itself is your sanctuary. The air, your altar. Your voice, your offering. The spiritual significance of morning is not in its aesthetics. It is in its authority. It is in what it calls forth. It is in how it awakens the sacred in you. The world may try to claim your day, but morning, that is yours. That belongs to your soul. That belongs to the spirit. Let me say this to you clearly. The way you begin your day will often determine how your day will carry you. If you enter it already burdened, already behind, you invite chaos to lead. But if you rise with a word of gratitude, a breath of faith, you align your spirit with something higher. The posture of your morning becomes the posture of your soul. Birds rise in praise. Flowers stretch without question toward the light. Even trees sway gently as the breeze begins. Why should we be the only creation that forgets to give thanks? Why should we be the only ones to hurry to receive the gift of now? Child, hear me, morning is your invitation. Not just to live but to live awake, to live aligned, to live aware of the miracle that you are still here, still breathing, still becoming, still part of the sacred story. There is holy power in how you greet the day. You can roll over with complaint or rise with declaration. You can rehearse your fears or remember your faith. You can scroll endlessly or sit with God in silence. The difference is not in time. It is in intention. You may only have 5 minutes before your household wakes. You may only have a single breath before work begins. But 5 minutes of sacred stillness can shift 10 hours of stress. One word spoken in faith can carry you through the valley. Say it gently. Say it trembling. Say it tired, if you must, but say it. Say this morning is holy. Say this breath is sacred. Say God, I am here, because He already is. And when you meet Him in the quiet, not with demands, but with openness, your whole day is rewritten. That's what the morning does. It rewrites, it resets, it restores. Even if yesterday was heavy, even if last night you wept in your pillow, even if the dreams felt distant and the wounds still fresh, morning has come, and with it, a divine reminder. You get to try again. So let your first act be intentional. Let your first breath be sacred. Let your first words be filled with grace. Do not let the world be the first to shape your spirit. Let the whisper of God do that. And child, let me remind you, your life does not begin with noise. It begins with a whisper, so hush the world for a moment. Let your soul settle. And listen, because the sacred whisper is speaking still. The power of one good word, the weight and influence of a faith-filled whisper. There are mornings that feel like mountains. You open your eyes, but you do not rise. Not fully. Your body lifts, yes, but your spirit stays curled beneath the weight of something unseen. Grief, exhaustion, fear, the ache of not knowing what comes next, the soreness of believing and not yet receiving. And in those moments, your soul doesn't need a speech. It doesn't need 1,000 affirmations or a crowd clapping in agreement. No, what it needs is one thing. Just one true word. One faith whisper that cracks the silence and makes space for the light. You see, words carry weight. Not just the kind that fills pages, but the kind that fills hearts or breaks them. One word can curse a day before it begins. I'm tired. One more problem. This again. Words like weeds, they root quickly. They spread wildly. And before we know it, our entire inner garden is overgrown with shadows. But so too, beloved, can one good word be a seed? Can shift the entire atmosphere. It can tilt the day toward healing. It can stir something eternal inside you. It can wake up your weary bones and tell them, rise. I have seen it. I have lived it. There was a morning, quiet and gray. I woke up to the sound of my own tears. Not because of something new, but because of the accumulation of everything old. Memories I could not erase. Regrets I could not rewrite. Questions I could not answer. The silence in my house was too loud. The ache in my chest was too familiar. And all I could do was sit on the edge of the bed, not knowing whether to fall back or fight forward. But in that moment, fragile and faithless as I felt, something inside me remembered. I opened my mouth. No choir, no crowd. Just a trembling voice and a sacred echo from deep within. Still, I rise. That was it, that was all. But oh, how the air shifted. Rise, that word became my rhythm. Not just my mantra, but my movement. Not just a saying, but a permission. To rise slowly. To rise even if bent. To rise even with tears. To rise not because I was ready, but because I was still allowed to. That word rise became a holy command to my soul. And that's the mystery, isn't it? That one word, when spoken in faith, can carry the strength of 1,000 sermons. Words, like peace, heal enough, forward, joy, light, God, still, rise, each one a seed, each one a key, each one a spark waiting to become fire. There are people who speak curses over themselves before the sun even climbs the sky. They wake up with yesterday's disappointment still in their mouth. They mutter, "This is too much," before they drink their first glass of water. And baby, let me tell you, those words don't disappear. They float. They settle. They take shape. They color the hours, twist the thoughts, and lace the day with bitterness. But then there are those, maybe because they've lived through storms, maybe because they've tasted God in the dark, who have learned the sacred discipline of the first word. They speak not out of circumstance, but out of conviction. They rise and say, "Grace, I'm learning. Today is holy," and everything shifts. Not because the trouble disappears, but because the soul does not bow to it. You don't need to shout. You don't need to quote scripture like a scholar. You just need to speak truth in your own voice, with your own trembling hands. And your own fragile hope. Because heaven doesn't respond to volume. Heaven responds to faith. One word can realign your day. One word can remind your bones what they were built for. One word can summon angels. One word can bend fear. One word can part waters. Do you know the weight of what's in your mouth? Do you know the sacred power in your tongue? The Bible says the tongue is a rudder. A small thing that steers the whole ship. What if your ship, your week, your marriage, your purpose is simply waiting for you to speak a better word? Not many, just one. Let me give you some stories. I've seen a single mother whisper strength as she brushed her hair before work, and carry her family through a storm with silent grace. I've seen an old man battling sickness say hope, and his whole face shift from sorrow to peace. I've seen the overlooked, the undervalued, the unseen stand in front of the mirror, look their reflection in the eye, and say worthy, and something in their spine straightened. I've seen the broken-hearted say heal, and their hearts, ever so slowly, begin to loosen from grief. Beloved, one word can make the shadows retreat. One word can hold you up when everything else lets you down. But here's the thing, you must choose it. You must choose what word you plant. Because words are seeds, they don't vanish. They grow. And if you don't plant something holy, your mind will plant something harmful. Fear, doubt, shame, regret, weeds, all of them. But if instead, you rise in the morning and choose a single word of faith, you are choosing to shape your day from the inside out. Let your soul be the soil. Let your voice be the sewer. Say peace, and walk gently, joy, and meet your hours with open hands, purpose, and watch how even mundane moments begin to shimmer, still, and find God in the quiet. Rise, and become taller than your fear. One good word, spoken in truth, is more powerful than 10,000 thoughts left unsaid. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be yours. It just has to be real. It just has to be faithful. So tomorrow, before the coffee, before the phone, before the world comes knocking, speak. Choose your word. Whisper it like a grandmother's prayer. Declare it like a prophet. Let it be the banner over your morning, the rhythm beneath your step, the quiet flame in your chest, because your voice is not empty. It carries heaven's echo. And one word, just one, can be enough to light the way home. Blessing or burden. The words we choose the power to harm or heal lives in the tongue. There are words we say to ourselves that never leave our lips. But they leave marks. Words whispered in the mirror, muttered in traffic, breathed into the space between sleep and wake. I'm failing. I'm too old. I'm not enough. I'll never change. These aren't just passing thoughts. They are self-spoken spells, tiny declarations that sink like stones into the soul and ripple through our hours, our energy, our encounters. And here is the sacred truth. Every word you speak is either a blessing or a burden. There is no in-between. When we speak carelessly, when we speak fear before faith, when we allow bitterness to borrow our breath, we create a climate where hope cannot grow. You see, some people wake up every day with curses in their mouths. Not dramatic ones, not thunder or shouting, but quiet, consistent curses. I can't do this. This will never get better. No one sees me. I always mess it up. I'm too broken to be fixed. And baby, those words, they don't disappear into the walls. They settle into the spirit. They sit at the table of your mind and pour themselves into your coffee. They walk with you to work. They shape how you parent, how you partner, how you pray. That is the weight of words. And yet here is the grace. Words can also lift. Words can also heal. Words can also bless. One sentence can become shelter. One whisper can become wind and tired lungs. One declaration can become a doorway out of despair, but we must choose it. Intentionally, tenderly, consistently, because while a word can be a weight, it can also be a wing. There are people who rise each morning and wrap themselves in truth. They speak not of what they lack, but of what they carry. They begin not with dread, but with a declaration. They say, I am learning. I am still growing. My soul is healing. This day is blessed. I walk with favor. God is with me, even now. And suddenly, without the world changing a thing, they change. The sky looks brighter. The breath comes deeper. The steps feel lighter. and the world bends ever so slightly toward beauty again. Because, beloved, words are not just sound, they are spirit. They create, they command, they call things forth. Remember the creation story. God did not form the world with hands. He spoke. He said, "Let there be." And there was. What makes you think your words don't matter? You, who are made in the image of the Creator. You, whose breath carries the echo of heaven. You, who wakes each day with the power to frame the world within and around you. Do not speak lightly. Do not curse the morning with your own tongue. The enemy doesn't need to attack you with armies. If he can get you to attack yourself with your words, he knows he doesn't have to steal your joy. If he can convince you to give it away every time you say, "This is hopeless. I don't matter. Nothing changes. I'll always be this way." That is not humility. That is spiritual self-harm. Speak like a child of God. Speak like someone who is loved. Speak like someone who knows their voice carries power. Let me show you the difference. ***, I'm always behind. I'm never going to catch up. My life is falling apart. No one supports me. I'm so unlucky. This is just how I am. Nothing works for me. Each of these words lays another brick in the wall of your own limitation. They invite darkness to sit beside you, to shape your week, to steal your rest. Now imagine starting your day instead like this. The blessings we can choose. I am aligned with divine timing. I'm moving forward, one sacred step at a time. Even in the chaos, I am anchored in peace. I am deeply supported by God and the unseen. My life unfolds in grace. I'm evolving, not stuck. Good things are working for me, even now. Do you feel the shift? It's not just positive thinking, it's prophetic living. It's speaking blessing into the bones of your day. It's choosing to plant life, not death, into your own soil. And when that blessing takes root, your inner posture changes. You don't just walk through the day. You move through it with sacred authority. A word on self-talk. The dialogue that shapes destiny. The most consistent conversation you will have in your life is the one you have with yourself. And if that conversation is not soaked in grace, you will slowly become a stranger to yourself. You will wither under the weight of your own tongue. But if that conversation is kind, if it is shaped by truth and not trauma, by vision and not shame, then you will become a garden. You will bloom, even in drought. Every time you rise in the morning and say, "I am chosen, I am changing, I am cherished," you are aligning your soul with what God has already said about you. Morning declarations to uplift your spirit. Let your mornings become sacred altars. Let your first words become candles in the dark. Let your declarations carry both power and poetry. Speak these aloud, or whisper them into your hands as you pray. This day will serve me. I walk in peace. My mind is clear. My heart is open. My soul is rooted. I release what no longer serves me and receive what is for me. I carry divine wisdom. I lack nothing essential. Even now, I am healing. Every breath is a new beginning. God is in the details of today. I trust the process. I rise with purpose. I rest in grace. It's not about magic. It's about alignment. You are not conjuring something out of thin air. You are agreeing with heaven. You are releasing truth into the atmosphere. You are shaping the next moment with your current one. The breath behind the words, and if you don't believe it yet, that's okay. Say it anyway. Faith is not always loud. Sometimes it begins as a whisper you barely believe, but speak it anyway. Because every word you speak is a teacher to your soul. Every word becomes a breath you live by. So let that breath be full of blessing. Let your inner dialogue become a sacred duet between your humanity and God's divinity. Final reflection for the day. You are not powerless. You are not voiceless. You are not meant to live weighed down by the rubble of careless self-talk. You are a garden, a temple, a living, breathing, beloved vessel of God's own image. So choose words that water your roots. Choose words that unclench your chest. Choose words that partner with life, not loss. Because when you speak blessings over yourself, you do more than change your day, you change your destiny. Choose wisely, beloved. Speak kindly. Speak truth. Speak life. Let the words you choose today become wings that carry you through the storms, and anchors that hold you steady in the calm. Blessing or burden, the choice is yours. ***. You hold the power to speak, change the divine origin of words and the echo of creation. There is something sacred about speech. Something ancient. Something that carries the sound of the very beginning. Before light, before life, Before time could be counted, there was a voice. And that voice said, "Let there be." Not with a hand, not with a hammer. With a word. Creation began not with motion, but with declaration. And so did you. Do you understand, beloved? You were spoken into being. You are not an accident. You are not a coincidence. You are the echo of something holy. Which means your words are not small. They carry legacy. They carry the power to continue what God started, to speak life into dark places. The divine blueprint. Words, as Genesis long before you learned to write. Long before anyone taught you a prayer, the blueprint of your spirit already knew. Words create worlds. God didn't build the mountains. He spoke them. He didn't carve the ocean. He called it forth, and you, child of the Most High, bear that same breath. Not the same volume, perhaps, but the same vibration. Every time you speak with faith, you are aligning your mouth with the mouth of God. You are continuing the sacred rhythm of Genesis. Let there be peace in my mind. Let there be joy in this house. Let there be clarity in this decision. Let there be healing in this body. Let there be light even here. Even now. You don't need permission to speak truth. You don't need a podium to prophesy over your own life. You don't need a degree to declare hope over your family. You don't need a platform to pronounce peace over your mind. You only need one thing: faith. Speak truth in your kitchen. Speak courage in your car. Speak light in your loneliness. Speak worthiness in the middle of your weakness. You don't need someone to hand you a microphone. God already handed you a mouth. That means you have all the authority you need. Right now. As you are. With all your cracks, all your fears, all your trembling faith. Breaking free from the silence. Too many of us were raised on silence. Taught to shrink. Taught to sit still. Taught to wait for someone else to validate our voice. But the Spirit does not require permission to move. And neither should you. Silence may feel safe. But silence, when it becomes a pattern, can become a prison. It binds the soul. It holds the truth hostage. It allows fear to do all the talking. And child, you were never meant to be silent while your soul screams. You were never meant to be mute in the face of spiritual warfare. You were never meant to whisper lies to yourself while the truth waits at the door. You were meant to speak, to say what heaven has already declared over you, to break the back of oppression with the blessing of your voice. Your voice is a key, not a decoration. Your voice is not an accessory. It is not a luxury. It is a key. It opens doors. It breaks chains. It sets captives free, especially when the captive is you. When you say, "I am not what happened to me," you are unlocking something. When you whisper, "I still believe," you are shifting the atmosphere. When you shout, "This will not be my end," you are moving mountains, not with your muscles, but with your mouth. This is the power we forget. This is the authority we leave untouched. Words rewire the mind, and the moment science is only now catching up to what Scripture has always said. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. Speak long enough about fear, and your body believes it. Speak long enough about defeat, and your mind begins to bend toward despair. But speak long enough about purpose, about strength, about grace, and the neurons begin to rewire. The heart begins to rise. The soul begins to walk upright again. Words are not decorations. They are directives. They command the heart. They instruct the spirit. They tell the soul what to believe. So what are your words saying? Reclaiming authority. A spiritual act. Speaking truth is not arrogance. It is not self-help. It is spiritual warfare. When you declare, "I am healed," even while the symptoms linger. "I am whole," even while grieving. "I am rising," even from a broken place. You are not lying. You are prophesying. You are speaking what God sees, even when you don't feel it yet. That's faith. And the enemy, he fears that kind of voice. Not the loud one, not the polished one, but the trembling, faithful, weary yet willing voice that dares to speak anyway. Real talk. You already have the power. You don't need another course. You don't need another book. You don't need someone more holy to cover you. You already have the Spirit. You already have the breath. You already have the right to speak. So speak. Speak over your child's room while they sleep. Speak over your finances with expectation. Speak over your heartache with compassion. Speak over your Monday like it's already blessed. Say, "This is not the end of my story. I am the head and not the tail. Peace follows me like a shadow. What was meant to break me is becoming my blessing. My voice carries divine fire." A new ritual. Morning, as a voice reclamation. When the sun begins to rise, don't reach for your phone. Reach for your truth. Place your hand on your chest. Close your eyes. Speak. Say, I am not who I used to be. Today is pregnant with purpose. I align myself with joy. I will not speak curses over my own life. My voice changes things. Say it. Even if you barely believe it, especially then, because faith isn't proven in how loud you shout. Faith is revealed in whether you speak when the room is still full of shadows. Final benediction. Speak until you see it. Listen, beloved, your voice doesn't have to be eloquent. It doesn't have to be poetic. It doesn't have to sound like anyone else's. It only has to be yours. Yours wrapped in trust. Yours dripping in truth. Yours grounded in grace. Speak like someone who carries heaven's echo. Speak like someone who remembers what God whispered in the dark. Speak like someone who is done waiting for permission. Because this world doesn't only change through power or policy. It changes every time a soul decides to speak truth again, to lift her head, to open his mouth, to say, let there be, baby. When you say it, there will be. You hold the power to speak change. Now go ahead. Use it. The sacred silence of the morning, honoring the stillness before the world awakens. There is a hush before the world wakes. A stillness so gentle, so ancient, it feels like the breath of God brushing against your soul. It is not loud. It does not announce itself with trumpets, but it waits for you. Every morning, before the traffic, before the notifications, before the demands knock on your door, there is a silence that wraps itself around the moment, and it is holy. It is the sacred silence of the morning. The ancient rhythm of dawn from the beginning of time. Morning has been a symbol of mercy, a sign that no matter how dark the night was, light will always return. His mercies are new every morning. Not just as a poetic line, but as a divine rhythm baked into the bones of creation. And what do we do with mercy? We meet it, we receive it, we honor it. You see, child, morning is not just a time slot. It is an invitation. It is the whisper of heaven that says, you get to begin again. And the silence that holds the morning is not emptiness. It is fullness, waiting to be felt. Creating a morning sanctuary. We build sanctuaries in many places, cathedrals, churches, temples. But the most transformative sanctuary is the one you make between your breath and your being. A candle. A window cracked just enough to feel the breeze. A single verse. A quiet prayer. A journal. Or even the stillness of your heartbeat beneath your palm. This is not performance. This is presence. It doesn't require you to be perfect. It only asks you to be here. To honor the moment before the day takes you away. Create a sacred rhythm. Before coffee. Before chaos. Before the world tells you who you need to be. Let God remind you who you already are. The benefits of morning stillness. You may think silence is doing nothing. But child, silence is doing everything. When you are still in the morning, your spirit aligns before the world misaligns it. Your nervous system settles before stress stirs it. Your soul listens before fear speaks. It is in this quiet place that the deepest truths rise to the surface. Not in the noise, not in the notifications, but in the hush. Morning silence is medicine for the soul. You don't need to fill it with words. You just need to honor it. Be present with it, because in that silence, God speaks. Not always in ways you expect, but in ways your heart can understand. Be still and know. The command was never, be busy and figure it out. It was, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness is not passivity. Stillness is recognition. Stillness is when you remember who is really in control. The reason the morning silence matters so much is because it recenters you. Not around your to-do list, but around your truth. Before the world names you anxious, tired, behind you get to sit with the one who calls you beloved, chosen, held enough. The cost of skipping the silence every morning. You stand at a crossroads. You can rush into the day and let the noise shape your spirit. Or you can pause and let the stillness shape your soul. When we skip the silence, we carry yesterday's burdens into today's breath. We make decisions out of survival instead of peace. We speak before we've remembered what matters. And suddenly, the day feels heavier than it needs to be. But one moment of sacred silence. It changes everything. It turns routine into ritual. It transforms breath into blessing. It makes the mundane feel miraculous. Sacred rituals, simple acts. Your morning sanctuary does not need to be elaborate. Let it be sacred because it is simple. Light a candle and say, this flame is my focus. Take 3 deep breaths and say, this air is my prayer. Put on a soft song and say, this melody is my meditation. Open your Bible, your journal, or your heart. Just sit. Even if your mind wanders. Even if your thoughts resist. Sit long enough to hear the hush beneath the noise. It is not empty. It is God waiting to meet you. The morning is your altar. Do not let the enemy steal your morning. Because he knows, the person who centers themselves before the world begins, walks through the day differently. He knows if he can clutter your morning, he can cloud your whole day. That's why the silence is a battleground. But it's also your victory. You may not control the day ahead, but you can choose how you begin it. And if you begin it in stillness, you walk into the chaos with a calm the world cannot give. That's not weakness. That's warfare. What stillness awakens in youth morning silence is where your anxiety has to bow. Your sorrow is seen but not crowned. Your faith finds its footing again. It's where your soul stretches after being cramped by the worries of the night. It's where your breath returns after running in your dreams. It's where your hope finds light after sleeping beneath layers of doubt. This silence does not demand, it invites. You do not have to pray a certain way. You just have to be honest. Bring your fatigue, bring your numbness, bring your joy, bring your questions. All are welcome in the sacred silence of morning. A gift to your future self. Every time you honor the morning, you are blessing your future. That moment of stillness, that breath, that prayer, that pause, will greet you later. It will greet you when the email arrives, when the child screams, when the grief rises unexpectedly, when the doubt creeps in. Your morning silence will become your anchor. The sanctuary you built at 6 a.m. will hold you steady at 3 p.m. because silence is not fragile. It is a fortress, and every time you return to it, you get stronger. Let the morning speak first before the world tells you who you're not. Let God tell you who you are. Before the headlines shout, let the hush whisper. Before you pour into others, be poured into. Before the calendar controls you, let the silence center you. Say in the stillness, I am here. This moment is sacred. I begin again, gently. God is near. Closing benediction. So, child of light, rise slowly. Rise like the sun. Stretch your soul before your limbs. Speak not just to the day but to your heart. Say, this morning is my sanctuary. I will not rush holiness. I meet God in the hush. I walk in stillness, and the stillness walks with me. And know this truth, when the morning is sacred, the day becomes sacred. And when your days are sacred, your life becomes a living prayer. Return to the silence. It waits for you, always. Choose words that uplift, not weigh down. The daily choice between chains and wings. Child, let me tell you something simple, but sacred. The words you speak are not just echoes, they are architects. Every phrase you whisper, mutter, declare, or repeat, it builds something. It builds walls, or it builds wings. Every morning, before your feet find the floor, you are offered a choice. Not just what to wear, not just what to eat, but what to say. And what you say becomes what you carry. We are not always careful with this power. We speak from habit. We speak from pain. We speak from yesterday's weather. And in doing so, we sow seeds that burden the very soul we're trying to free. But I came to remind you today, you don't have to carry heavy words anymore. You can choose better. You can choose words that lift. Words that weight. Too many of us begin the day with weights we were never meant to carry. I'm tired. I can't do this. This is going to be a hard week. No one sees me. Nothing ever changes. And child, I say this gently, those words are not small. They are seeds. They are spells. They are locks on doors you were meant to walk through. We say, it's just how I feel. And yes, feelings matter. But feelings are not meant to be foremen of your life. They are messengers, not masters. When you speak pain as if it is permanent, you give it permission to linger. When you repeat despair out loud, you invite it deeper into your spirit. And the soul, oh, the soul listens closely. It remembers what you say, and it builds beliefs out of those bricks. Words that lift. But what if, instead of burden, you chose blessing? What if, before the world pressed in, you declared something holy? Try this. I am learning, not failing. Today is filled with new mercy. My peace is protected. I am walking in divine timing. Something good is finding me today. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. Choosing uplifting words doesn't mean you deny the pain. It means you don't make pain your home. It means you name your truth, but you let hope have the final word. Every word is a key or a chainlet. Me say it plain. Every word is either a key or a chain. If it frees your spirit, it's a key. If it binds your belief, it's a chain. What are you handing yourself each morning? Chains like, I'll never be enough. What's the point? This always happens to me. Or keys like, I'm not who I was. I am growing through this. Grace is working in the background. Your mind is a garden. Love. Your words are the water, and your attention is the sun. Tend it well. Speak with care. Because what you plant will rise. How your words shape your path. The words you choose in the morning do not stay in the mirror, they walk with you. They show up in how you speak to your children, in how you respond to delays, in how you carry your shoulders through struggle. Say I'm strong, and you stand taller. Say I'm overwhelmed, and suddenly every task grows heavier. It's not magic, it's alignment. You are aligning your body, your emotions, and your energy with the vibration of what you believe. Speak low, and the world feels heavier. Speak light, and something begins to rise. Not because the world changes, but because you do. The word the Bible says in Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Not just once a year. Not just when you're preaching. Every single day, you speak life, and it multiplies. You speak death, and it echoes. But don't just take this as warning. Take it as invitation. If your words have that much power, then you are more equipped than you realize. You can bless your own bones. You can calm your own mind. You can stir your own faith. Even with a whisper, you don't need a stage. You don't need a script. You just need a moment of honesty. A breath of belief. Sacred simplicity. Some of the most powerful things I've ever heard were not loud. A mother whispering, "We're going to make it." An elder rocking in a chair saying, "God is still good." A weary soul looking in the mirror and saying, "I am still becoming." These aren't just nice words. They are sacred scripts, holy mantras passed from spirit to spirit. Let your morning be filled with sacred simplicity. Try saying, "I am not behind. Healing is already on its way. Today, I speak peace into my home. My voice matters. Even in the quiet, I will walk through this day with dignity, and watch how different the day begins to feel." Don't let pain have the first word. Pain will try to speak first. It will sit on your chest. It will tell you what hasn't changed. It will remind you of what you lost. And it will beg to be repeated, but you don't have to give it the microphone. You can honor your wounds without turning them into your identity. Say, "This pain is real, but it is not the whole story. I am more than what I have survived. Even here, I am worthy of light." Do you see the difference? It's not denial. It's divine resistance. It's choosing to give your hope the first word, even if it has to whisper. A practice to begin with. Let me give you something simple. Each morning, choose 3 words to speak over your day. Just 3 dots. Speak them before the news, before the phone, before the noise. Say, peace, purpose, power, joy, gratitude, grace, healing, order, light. Let them sit in your chest. Let them stir your breath. Let them guide your decisions, and if you lose your footing midday, return to them. Say them again. Because repetition is remembrance, and remembrance is strength. You can change the atmosphere. Words are not just sounds, they are spiritual tools. A blessing spoken out loud can clear a room. A declaration in your hallway can shift your home. A whisper at your desk can silence fear. A prayer in your kitchen can bless generations. So don't underestimate the weight of your words. Don't think they fall to the floor unnoticed. Heaven hears. Your spirit listens. The atmosphere responds. Final declaration. Let your morning sound like this. I choose words that lift. I will not curse my day with my own mouth. I speak light. I speak peace. I speak power. And even if the world tries to pull me low, my words will rise like wings. Because you are not just speaking to the air. You are speaking to your soul, to your path, to the world that is still being shaped around your belief. Speak gently. Speak with intention. Speak like the future listens. Because it does. Your voice carries heaven's echo. Speaking truth with sacred power. A devotional prose script, approximately 1,500 words. Come closer, beloved. Sit with me under the hush of the heavens, and let me remind you of a truth so ancient, so holy, that your soul might stir just hearing it. Your voice carries heaven's echo. Not just in the songs you sing, not only in the prayers you pray aloud, but in that quiet sound that rises from deep within, the voice that dreams in the dark, that speaks even when your lips are still, the whisper that refuses to die even after the storm. That voice. It is not small. It is not accidental. It is divine. The breath of the beginning. In the beginning was not a bang. It was not chaos. It was not confusion. It was a word. Let there be. The first act of creation was not made by hands, but by breath, by voice, by a declaration. And do you not know, child, that same breath now fills your lungs? You are not voiceless dust walking through this life. You are animated by sacred sound. Every word you speak is backed by that original echo, the divine rhythm that called light out of darkness, form out of void, hope out of silence. You don't need permission. You don't need permission to speak light. You don't need a microphone to carry power. You don't need to be eloquent. You don't need a platform, or a pulpit, or a crowd. You don't even need your voice to be loud. You only need your voice to be true, because the universe doesn't respond to volume. It responds to vibration. It responds to faith, and when your voice trembles with truth, not just personal truth, but divine alignment, it becomes a tuning fork that heaven recognizes. The angels lean in, the heavens pause, because you're not just speaking into the air. You are partnering with the Creator. Why so many stay silent, but oh, how many of us stay silent? We've been told, you're too much. You're too loud, you're too soft, you're too young, you're too woman, you're too broken. We've been taught to swallow our pain and wait for someone else to fix what's falling apart. But listen to me, child, your rescue is already inside of you. Your redemption begins not when someone else declares it, but when you do. You were never meant to shrink, to cower, to let fear take the microphone in your life. You were meant to rise, to speak, to declare what God already placed within you. Speak like a prophet of your own life to many. Wait for a prophet to come along and bless them. But child, don't you see? You are the prophet of your own life. You carry the same sacred sound in your chest. You hold the divine right to declare peace over your house, strength over your struggle, hope over your future. When you say, I am worthy, heaven echoes, yes, you are. When you say, peace belongs to me, the winds hush in reverence. When you say, God is with me today, the skies open in agreement. Because you're not just saying words, you are echoing eternity. Whispered power. Let me tell you something holy. A whisper, yes, even a trembling, tear-soaked whisper can shake the foundations of despair. When it is wrapped in belief, you don't need strength to start. You need surrender. You need truth. You need just enough courage to speak. Speak what you need, what you hope for. What you believe is still possible. Speak it not because you've already received it, but because your faith knows it's coming. What you say, you invite. There is power in what you say. When you speak life, you invite it to come closer. When you speak hope, you open the window for miracles to climb through. When you speak peace, chaos loses its grip. When you speak healing, your body begins to listen. Speak what aligns with heaven, because the more you speak truth, the more truth begins to rise within you. The more you declare strength, the more strength clothes your bones. The more you say, I am not alone, the more you begin to feel the divine arms wrapped around your back. Your voice is an instrument of light. Your voice is not just sound, it is a tool, a sacred instrument. You can sing storms into stillness, prophesy purpose into dry places, command clarity into confusion, declare beauty into brokenness. Your voice is not ordinary, it is holy. Don't mute your miracle with silence. Don't drown your destiny in doubt. Speak like someone who believes that what you say matters, because it does. Speak to the unseen. Sometimes what you see doesn't match what you believe. But faith was never meant to depend on sight, so speak to what isn't, as if it already is. Say, my home is a place of peace, even if there's tension. My mind is being renewed, even if the anxiety flares. My future is full of light, even if you're walking through shadow. You are not lying. You are prophesying. You are aligning with the unseen realm and pulling heaven's reality down to earth. Morning practice. Speak over your day each morning. Place your hand on your chest and speak. Today I choose light. Today I walk with grace. Today I remember I am not alone. Today, I speak like someone who carries heaven's echo. Speak softly if you must. Speak through tears if you need to. Speak until your soul hears you again. Because your voice, beloved, is not broken. It's just been waiting for you to believe in its power. Final blessing now. Let me bless your voice. May it be tender enough to soothe your wounds, and strong enough to shatter lies. May it carry truth like a banner, and grace like a melody. May it echo the Creator's voice, the one who said, let there be, and there was. And may you remember that you are not just echoing heaven. Heaven is echoing you. When you speak in faith, you are never speaking alone. The winds listen, the walls respond, and the world begins to move. So rise each day and say something powerful. Say something sacred. Say something true. Because your voice, child, is the sound of light returning to the earth. Final words and now, beloved, if you remember nothing else, remember this. Your words are not wasted breath, they are sacred instruments, divine echoes, living seeds. With every morning, you are given a blank sky and a voice full of power. Use it wisely. Use it gently. Use it boldly. Speak light where there was once only shadow. Speak truth where lies have lingered too long. Speak grace over your past and glory into your future. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Open your mouth. Let heaven echo through you. And watch the world shift beneath your feet. Beloved, if this spoke to your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share this word with someone who needs to remember their voice carries divine power. Speak life over your mornings, your home, your purpose. Start each day with a declaration that aligns your soul with heaven. And if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, or join our journey of spiritual awakening. We rise stronger when we rise together. Comment below, what one word will you speak over your week? Your voice matters. Your words are seeds. Let's plant beauty, on purpose, one sacred morning at a time. Speak, rise, repeat.